So this is one of my family's favorite recipes. This is tortilla soup. And the great thing about tortilla soup is that it's really yummy in the summertime because it's a tomato-based soup, so it's nice and light. But it also has lots of ingredients in there, and so you can really hearty it up, and it's a great soup for fall all the way through the winter. It's also, like most soups, pretty easy to make. So I've started with 6 cups of water boiling and about 2 to 3 chicken breasts that are boiling in there. I just threw them in. I'm going to add to that 1 large chopped onion, then also 3, 4, 5 cloves of garlic, however spicy you want this dish to be. Again, those are gonna be chopped up, and about 2 bay leaves. And let that cook away for about 10 minutes. Okay, so the chicken has been cooking for about 10 or maybe a few minutes longer than that. First thing I'm going to do is fish that chicken out and let it cool enough so that I can shred it or chop it to throw it back in. Now I'm gonna throw in the rest of my ingredients. I have 1 red bell pepper nicely chopped up here. Then I'm using 2 to 3 really ripe tomatoes, nicely chopped up. If you can't get your hands on ripe tomatoes because maybe they're out of season, you can use canned tomatoes in a pinch. You do want to make sure you choose an organic canned tomato because then the lycopene goes through the roof, which is a really good thing. Canned tomatoes, of course, you can get on Thrive Market. Then I add to that 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, then a half a cup to a cup of quinoa. The quinoa just adds a nice nutty flavor. It's a great grain for you. It's really healthy. Also, if you want to turn this into a vegetarian tortilla soup, you could eliminate the chicken altogether and just have the quinoa in there. It's going to give you a nice protein source in there. If you like a thinner, brothier soup, just add a half a cup of quinoa. If you like a really thick, bulky soup, add that full cup of quinoa. Now to that, I'm adding about a 15-ounce can of enchilada sauce, then 2 cans of pinto beans, regular size cans, and go with the organic pinto beans if you can find them, which you should be able to. And finally, 2 cups of corn. Best bet is when corn is in season, you buy it, cook it, cut it off the cob, and then throw it in the freezer so that in the wintertime when you're making this soup, you can just pull it right out of the freezer and throw it into your pot of soup. Of course, if you don't have stuff that you already cooked, you can get it at the grocery store. Frozen corn totally works. In a pinch, canned corn will work also. Now that already looks good enough to eat, but we have a couple more key ingredients. Now some jalapeno, time to spice it up. If you are feeding this to kids or to a full family, you're gonna wanna go with just 1/2 to 1 full jalapeno. If this is for grown-ups, you can really amp it up with 2 to 3 jalapenos. I'm gonna go with probably 1.5 to 2 jalapenos here. Then a couple other spices. We need about 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of cumin, and 1 teaspoon of thyme. Now we stir that all together, and here's the great part about making soup. You throw it in a pot and you let it go. I'm gonna let this cook on a high simmer or a just slight boil for about an entire hour. It's gonna cook down a little bit, all those flavors are really gonna blend together, and then we'll come back to it and add the chicken back in. This soup, unlike me, has been hard at work for the last hour cooking away, and oh, that is looking really good. Everything is sort of blended together there, and now that my chicken is cool, I can finish shredding that up and throw that back in. You can also chop your chicken, of course, but I find it easier to just shred it by hand. For some strange reason, I found that people like to eat chicken in the form of shredded more than chicken in the form of cubes. The final ingredient is a little bit of fresh cilantro. You don't want to add your cilantro too early because it's a fresh herb. You want to add it a little bit later so it still has that bright vibrancy. So I have about a 1/4 cup chopped cilantro here, and I'm going to throw that in the pot. Now you'll give this soup just a couple minutes longer and then it's done. One of the best things about making soup is that immediately you have leftovers. There's no way your family is going to eat this entire pot of soup tonight. So right away, grab your ladle and grab some sort of leftover container. Glass works best, and let's ladle some up and we're gonna throw that in the freezer. I really like doing leftovers in just regular old ball jars. This is a great single serving size. So if you are a working parent, you just pull this out the night before and throw it in the fridge from the freezer, or you pull it out the morning of even, throw it in your lunch bag and pack that up for your lunch that day. And that's a perfect single-size serving of tortilla soup. Anytime you're freezing something, you want to leave a little extra room at the top because when things freeze, they of course expand. Now it's time to taste this deliciousness. My favorite way to eat tortilla soup is just like that, plus a little bit of fresh avocado. And then finally, a good squeeze of lime. Don't you dare eat my tortilla soup without a fresh squeeze of lime right on the top. If you want, you can also add a little bit of organic sour cream or a little bit of chopped tortilla chips, but I think it's perfect with just a little avocado and some lime. And right there, you have a one-pot meal that is sure to make the entire family happy. And most of these ingredients you can get at Thrive Market for 25 to 50% off of retail. You seriously can't beat that. I really hope your family enjoys this as much as mine does.